Today's guest is Debby Spaltman, and I met her through the Academy of Modern Applied Psychology, where she holds the position of Managing Director of Operations. She's an executive and leadership coach, but before becoming a coach, she held a successful career as a senior marketer and a communications professional. She's had the privilege of being able to work with some very influential CEOs, writing their speeches and creating their presentations for strategically important events. And while she was immersed in these projects, she was also learning how they think and work, which led to learnings not only on how to piece together the process flows of the business, but how to focus on what really matters. And her experience of working within corporations that had a global workforce and thus multicultural management teams, customers, and stakeholders is how she learned hands-on about the complex operations in a global company. I'm interested because I was thinking after we spoke, I was so, we had such a great conversation. I was thinking afterwards that you've literally, one could say you've been to the moon and back, which is ironic because of the fact that you had contact with Lance Armstrong. And I was reading, when I read the notes, I read it like this. I spent around 3 years alone with Neil Armstrong in a dressing room, and I was like, so then I realized it was 3 hours. And I was wondering, what the heck were you doing for 3 years?
Were you in jail?
So, maybe for the folks that are listening, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Because you have such a even though you've done a lot of things, I can clearly see you have such an enriched experience of things that have happened in your life and things that you've experienced. So, tell us a little bit where it all started for you.
With birth? Yeah. There are a gazillion ways you can answer this question. Who are you? What are you? Tell me about yourself. And I think what the answer reflects on what you put value on, and where you want to see yourself, where you would like to see yourself, how you would like to show up in the world. And for me, for my family, I would like to show up as someone who's really caring and someone who I enjoy riding my bike with my husband. That's who I am when I'm with him, or riding my horses or going out in the woods. And I'm the big chicken because I've had so many accidents that I'm, really leave him to take the lead. So then I'm a big follower in that place, right? And when it comes to working, I think creativity, that's who I am. And not like an artist is creative. I'm a terrible artist. Yeah. I mean, it's a challenge for me to make a stick person, right?
So you never played Hangman?
Yes, that's why I say it's a challenge for me to do that. Yeah, but I think when it comes to working, or when it comes to being on a team, or even leading, I think curiosity is the most important thing. It's this absolute desire, not just a willingness, but a desire to learn more.
Yeah.
It's this, I am passionate about learning. I'm passionate about teaching. And I think that's what, for example, with ecology, I think that's what's so great with our community is that people join because they want to learn.
Yeah.
And right away, they're on my same wavelength, it's like, okay, they're here to learn and they're here to grow. And if you don't have that, then I have nothing I can talk to you about. I have nothing that it's just, that's the big thing for me. Yeah. Education, I think education is the only thing that's going to help save the world.
Because that's something people cannot take away. I see a lot of people talk about that now, is you can't take away, that you cannot put a price on education, on your own, on what it is that you have learned and what it is that you have acquired. Of course, you have to do something with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make something of what you're learning, because of course there are the types, and I tend to be that way. And I know that there are a lot of people, especially in our community, that do that, is they're learning. And their mind is growing, but then they're stuck.
Yeah.
They're not taking it out and doing anything with it.
Yeah.
And just the next course, just the next conversation, just the next book, just the next personality test, on and on and on. And they're not doing anything with it.
Yeah. And I also came from that. And so that so resonates with me, because if I have to think back where I started and how much time I've wasted because I had that mindset, it's almost shocking if you come to that realization.
Yeah. It's like, how much time did I waste, right?
Yeah.
How much time did I waste?
Yeah.
I could have had it. I could have done so much good. I could have changed lives. Yeah. I get it totally. Same here. I mean.
And what is interesting is, though, that now looking back, now that I have clients and now that I'm coaching that I'm in the trenches, I actually learn the most. When you work, so that was, that's amazing. So you coached some amazing, or was involved with some amazing people and some amazing CEOs and folks out there. So tell us some stories around that, something peculiar that you can remember.
Peculiar. I mean, of course you have a lot of stories. And but this was in a corporate world. I wasn't when I was working with the CEOs at that level, I was in a corporate position. I was responsible for executive communications, positioning, platform positioning, making thought leaders out of the people that were in our business. And of course there are, some good stories and some less good stories. I mean, there's one where our CEO was supposed to be talking to a group of, I even believe it was entrepreneurs. I think it was entrepreneurs. And it was in a high-tech building, really beautiful glass and metal and very, very high-techy. And he went out to grab himself another cup of coffee or something. He came walking back, and he didn't walk through the door. He ran into the glass. And he just went, boom, just like in a cartoon, just hit the glass and fell over. So, I mean, that's, it's not necessarily a nice story, but it's just one that sticks in your mind.
And then was he like completely passed out, or
no?
Did he just, luckily?
Yeah, it was just extremely embarrassing. And for him, of course. But I think he really managed. He handled it quite well, right? I mean, just like you're laughing, I couldn't help but laugh. But of course, I was worried because he had to go on stage in a little bit. Here he is holding a cup of coffee, and I think it wasn't that. I don't think the spots on his clothes were that bad. but it was he. At first, he was defensive. At first, he was he was like, "Oh, it'll be all right," and blah blah blah, and it's their fault. But then he got himself together, and he laughed about himself, and he even talked about it when he was on stage. And he says, "Hey, by the way, I'm able to make it here. I didn't knock myself out entirely. I was up before. I think what did he say? I was up before the referee counted to 10." Yeah. So that was, I think for me, when I was working with these CEOs and they were just a good example. They were, the most of them. There were, of course, you have the whole spectrum there, but to get as far as many of them got was because they exhibited something that made people want to follow them. That that their superiors, when they were going up the ladder, recognized as being someone who could pull other people with them.
Yeah.
And move. You don't move by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to have others with you. And if you can't, let's say, get your own self in order, how are you going to help other people to get them in order?
Yeah.
So I think that was one of the key things that I learned through working in the corporate world all those years. Yeah.
And I just saw in the ecology community where we met, I saw this morning somebody made the analogy about your values. It's almost like you have to be stripped naked to completely understand what you are about and what's going on and where you going and what's your life vision and all of that. Where a lot of people when you would ask somebody like, what's your goal, what's your values, it's like a 1 minute, let me quickly think about it. But it's so much more than that, so that you can create that space for people to feel safe around you. If you know who you are, that's why it's so important. So.
Yeah, totally true. I think picking up on values is because you're not going to be authentic if you don't live according to your values, and people notice, they can tell.
Yeah.
They can tell.
Yeah.
And if your values are, let's say, selfish.
Yeah.
Right? If your values are selfish. I know a couple of people who say their values are freedom. What does freedom mean? Freedom to make a decision. Everybody wants that. Freedom to step on somebody. Who wants that? So I think understanding how as a group, how as an organization or as a team or even as a member of society, how your values interact with the society that you're interacting with the society that you're part of. Does it enhance the value or is it taking away from the value? It's people will notice.
Right.
One of the goals that one coach or leadership person that I tend to follow is that they say that all we are after is happiness in life. Yeah. And Cain tends to say happiness is worthless because happiness doesn't give you anything. It has to be fulfillment. And if we understand that there are different understandings of what the word happiness is, and to be fulfilled, yes, I want to be fulfilled. But do I want to, am I being fulfilled when I'm sitting at a pool, drinking a cool drink, watching kids play ball? I'm happy. Yeah. I'm not fulfilled doing that. It just makes me happy to see that. Yeah. So I think putting meaning behind what it is we are doing. So meaning and happiness come together. Right. I think the meaning behind, let's just take that example, seeing kids playing in a pool while I'm drinking. It means the meaning to me is that I feel I have the right, it's okay for me to sit there and enjoy some moments out, not doing anything, not being productive. It's okay to enjoy the sun. It's okay to listen to kids playing or watch kids playing. It's okay to get my feet wet because they're throwing the ball back and forth. And that would be a moment of happiness. It's not fulfilled in a sense, but the fulfillment comes through the fact that I've done what I needed to do to allow myself this time out. And I'm recharging my batteries at this moment. It's a good idea. True. And on a different level, let's say you're working with a client and the client's not making any progress. As a coach, you and I were coaches, right? Yeah. So as a coach, we're working with a client. We have the feeling the client's not making progress. It's just getting stuck, and you're using up all the tools in your toolbox, and you don't know, how can I get this client to open up? How can I get this client to show a little bit of progress? How can I open the door just so that a little ray of sunlight comes in there? And you're sitting there and you're thinking, and you've done this for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, 90 minutes go by, another 90 minutes go by, keep running, and you're thinking about maybe stopping. because you think I'm not reaching this person. And then they come in one day and tell you, over the weekend, I did blah, blah. And it's something that you would wanted them to do, or you would hoping them. And they don't even see it as a difference.
Yeah.
They don't even recognize it as a difference. In that moment, you're happy.
Yeah.
Because what you've been doing has suddenly gained meaning. It's suddenly given you a sense of meaning. So, yeah, I think happiness is a good thing.
Why did you move out of what made you decide to move out of corporate into coaching?
Probably like I don't really think I decided. I don't really think
I got you.
Yeah. No, actually, the first time around, I did decide.
Yeah.
The first time around, I was living in Bavaria, Germany, and I was working in Switzerland. And I was traveling. I was flying all over the world and traveling a lot. So I didn't see much of it. Didn't matter what my home address was. I didn't see much of any of it. Wow. So it didn't matter if my home address was in Switzerland or my home address was in Bavaria. So when the companies were merged that I was working with, it was they like to call it a merger. I like to call it an acquisition because I was on the takeover side. Yeah, they offered me a job in Geneva. So even farther away. So I was working in Zurich, but they offered me a job in Geneva. So Geneva is, due to the location, it's an 8-hour drive from Zurich. And that's another 4-hour drive from where I was living. So that would have meant if I didn't get flights going there all the time, that meant a 10-hour one-way trip to drive. And I was burned out. I didn't want to do it anymore. They were taking away, in my mind, this is what my reality was. Yeah. Taking away my beloved company. It was being purchased by the enemy, because when I was in that company, I was in market research, and I did a lot of competitive intelligence, and I did a lot of competitive intelligence on them. And I was advising our product teams on, this is their roadmap, this is where they're going, this is what they're announcing, these are the patents they've registered, these kind of things. These are the new customers they've gained. This is what the customer was looking for. All of this type of information. And to think that I would be going to their headquarters, sitting in with their product teams, talking that I couldn't see myself.
How bizarre is that?
Yeah, I couldn't see myself doing that. And besides, at the time, my husband was managing our household here totally alone. And his mother, my mother-in-law, she lived here in the house, and she was going blind. She had an illness that was causing her to go blind, and he was managing that. My stepfather, he'd been my stepfather for 30 years. So, but he had just been diagnosed with cancer, and it was at level 4, I believe it was. So it wasn't going, stage 4. So he was on his, it was on a downward path. And my mom was managing all that. And I was thinking, here you are, you're frolicking around in business class and airplanes, staying in super duper hotels that you don't want to be at, supporting a company that you don't totally believe in, and your personal world is actually kind of falling apart. So I left. I they were looking for people who wanted to leave because they have double roles.
Right.
And so I said I would go, and just left then. And then I had my own business. I worked from home. For a while, I didn't do anything. And just...
Rightly so, I guess.
Just getting my bearings.
Yeah.
But then I set up my own marketing company and was doing marketing, and it was really at a small level, doing websites and advising on marketing newsletters and doing some research and some PR stuff.
Right.
So it was fun. It was good and worked really well. And it was, the income was, aside from that, it was not really I couldn't plan on it like I
Yeah.
did in my business, but it was more or less the same. So I was
Yeah,
wondering,
wow.
why did you wait so long?
Yeah, I think that's always the first question people ask when they do make the jump.
Yeah. Why did you
Yeah.
wait so long? And yeah, but then one of my customers recruited me. They wanted to have me work for them. And that was at a point when one of my largest customers had fallen away.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking, uh-oh, what are you going to do now, right? So, and then all of a sudden this comes up, and I said, serendipity is
Yeah.
what needs to happen. And I went there, but we weren't a good fit. We weren't a good fit. I had been freelancing my own business for too long.
Yeah.
And even though I enjoyed being together with a team, I
Yeah.
really, really did. I really did. I really enjoyed being with a team. I did things that weren't according to their culture.
Mm.
So for me, it was hard to believe I had to get an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, to talk to people.
Right.
You know, wow. It was something I had a hard time with,
Yeah.
but because that was also a merger, and that was one of the reasons why I was chosen, is
Mm.
because I had worked in so many mergers. Was that when we were done downsizing and doing all the restructuring, I was also downsized.
Mm.
So that's why I say I'm not sure I'm the one who left on. Which, honestly, Petroline, if it were to happen again, I understand totally. I
Right.
do. I
Mm.
do.
So,
Yeah.
so, what would you tell, given that there are so many people now in that position where as a result of COVID, that it's almost like for them, they feel it's inevitable. It's just about when. What would you tell somebody? Let's say it's somebody that does have a dream to go and do something else, but they still sit in this job, but they're scared they're going to lose it. What would you tell somebody like that?
Mm-hmm. Um, it's okay to be scared.
Mm.
It's okay, and it's real. And yeah, we
Mm.
one of the key things, is that we are looking for security.
Mm.
And the biggest security you have is you.
Mm.
If you can understand that the strongest chain in that link is you,
Mm.
nobody else. It's not your husband, it's not your boss, it's not your company. You are you personally, your inner values, your inner self, your inner strength, your ability to be resilient. That is the strongest thing you have. And when you finally understand that,
Mm.
you can go out and change the world.
That's so true. That is so true. And it's sometimes it's heartbreaking for me being in that same. Well, I made the decision about a year ago, but being in that same position is where I've gone through the same process in learning so much about myself, and it took me a while after I've resigned to realize that what it is I can do and what it is I have already done.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get there, I almost want to say, it sounds like a cliche, but the world is really your oyster in the
Yes.
sense that you can honestly go out and do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's heartbreaking to see that some people. I actually spoke with just somebody I met on social media. She was looking for something, and I contacted her, but I couldn't give her what she wanted, and we exchanged just some thoughts back and forth. And the one thing she said is, just today was just, and she doesn't know me. Today is just one of those days that I wish I had somebody to talk to. And if we can get to the point, I sometimes think we can realize that there's so many people out there that need what you have, irrespective of what it might be. um, yeah, the world could be a different place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's actually tale telling. If someone that you have just met feels free enough or feels compelled to tell you that she is looking for someone just to talk to, that means you have somehow given her the sense that she can trust you to say that.
True. Yeah, I haven't think about it that way.
She's I wouldn't say she's actually reaching out, but in a sense
Right,
she is reaching out.
Yeah.
In a sense she is. She's telling you something.
How much, if you have to think back over your journey, how much, and you mentioned a little bit about the learning and the education in the beginning, but how much, because I want to ask how much learning was involved, because a lot of people think if you start off on a journey like this, or if you start off as an entrepreneur, or if you, just to give an explanation of my own story, I've been in corporate for 18 years, and for the past 5 years, I was applying for other jobs. I did not get I got one interview. They flew me down to Cape Town. Here I was. I've been an operational director. I've managed an South African office for the company, for a US-based company. But I didn't get the job. And when I inquired afterwards, they told me that I did not have the experience that they thought someone in my level will have. That just completely blew my mind. And that's the point where I realized I'm so far behind in terms of personal development and things that the company didn't give us, which I should have, in hindsight, I should have gone out and looked for it myself, but I didn't. I guess I was too stupid to do that at that point, didn't realize it. But I want to ask how much learning was involved in your journey, because a lot of people think, especially if they sit in a job, they think, oh, the company is responsible for my personal development. The company is responsible for my learning. The company, because they confuse their career goals with their personal goals. And they rely so heavily on the company to do everything for them that they neglect really their own development.
Interesting. First off, hindsight is always 20/20, as they say, right? We're always smarter when we had a chance to reflect over everything.
So true.
I think we can expedite how hindsight works if we would be a little bit more aware of what's going on right now. Just sit down. I don't know if you meditate or if you just, daydream, but get some hindsight through awareness in advance.
True, right.
Yeah. So to answer your question about how important is education, I think it's a personal thing, because when I was listening to you say that, I was thinking I was offered jobs that I didn't have any clue about, just because I was doing something that I thought was interesting and I was teaching myself how to do it. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I was working as an assistant for a business area, entire business area. He was the VP. It was called the General Business Group. And a lot of what I did was creating spreadsheets, financial forecasts, doing the market research. I wasn't doing the market research. I was taking the information that the market research department gave us and putting it into presentations, making sense out of it, interpreting it, explaining it to them, looking at how many SKUs were being built and this kind of stuff. Yeah. So I was doing like thinking work and preparing it for the VP. And while I was doing that, he traveled a lot, so I had some free time, and that was when the internet was coming out. This was like 1993 or 5 or something like this. So I started piddling around with HTTP. So I was sitting at my computer and I made a intranet page in HTTP, totally were using that, the old-fashioned
Yeah.
programming languages. There were no programs that would help me make a website. And for all of our 10 countries, and it had 10 pages, so it was 1,000. Was it 1,000? 100 pages? Whatever it was. Anyway, 100 pages.
Yeah, 100, yeah.
Yeah, 100 pages, but it felt like 1,000.
It must have had a remarkable impact on you.
It did,
Yeah.
because it was just sharing information internally about where is the location, who is the head of the organization, what are their major customers, who's in there, a little bit about the country, a little bit about culture, what languages do they speak there, what are the biggest companies that are located in that region, what are some of the cultural things, are they big football or rugby, that kind of stuff. And I did this for them all. And because I did that, the market research team approached me and said, "Hey, we would like to offer you a job." And it was like, oh, that's really cool, because here I am sitting here doing the same old dry Excel reports, dry whatever it was. And I remember, now that you ask me, and now that I'm remembering this, I remember that there was a SKU report. So that's the number of units created, right?
Yeah.
So it came in as an email every night. And my boss would take it in the morning, and he would look at it, and he'd go through whatever it was that he wanted to see. And I would say, why is he so interested in this? Because it doesn't tell you anything. Yeah. It doesn't tell you how many are being shipped. It doesn't tell you who they're being shipped to. None of that information. It's just telling you 1,000 pieces are being built today. So why are you interested in this? And so I started looking at it, and I set up a macro, which I taught myself how to do in Excel. So I set up a macro that would pull the email out of the email system, import it into Excel, would import it into a spreadsheet. From the spreadsheet, it would import it into and make all kinds of graphics. Yeah. So I had projected sales. I had projected God knows what. I don't even remember. I just remember that it was fun for me to do this, to get this Excel sheet to work. I love playing with this Excel sheet and make it into something really creative and cool. But the best part was when it was done doing all of its magic, it would print itself out as a 3-page report. And my boss would walk in the door in the morning, grab the 3 pages, go in, and he would be able to call up, this is happening, this is happening. My company in Holland, or my folks in Holland, need a order for 10,000 filled, but you're filling South Africa's for 5,000. Yeah. And there's the 5,000 that they need. So can we just blah, blah, blah. So it was fun. It was like reading a thriller or something, or going to the movies,
I can relate with that, yeah. When you start to dig into stuff like that, it's the stuff you find. Hours go by, and then you realize how much time has passed, yeah.
And I think, Petroline, that answers the question. Curiosity, what do you enjoy learning? Are you learning on the job, or are you just sitting up? Are you just wasting your time away? Oh, it's 5 minutes till. Oh, God, it's been an hour. No, it's only 4 minutes till, I've worked in companies where there were people who would close up their desk at 5 minutes to the hour. They would sit there like this. Right. The boss comes in the room. I'm still sitting at my desk. And then it goes bing, and they drop it and go out the door. They're waiting for that moment to come. That's totally unfulfilling. Yeah. Isn't it? You're not living your life.
Right. And yet so many people think that's who they are. They've never comprehend or never entertained the thought even that they can be more than just that. They are so used to what they are doing, and so used to those emotions, those reactions, those just whatever they are for that day, that they have no idea who they actually can be.
Yeah. Awareness again. if you're just accepting, oh, I am a victim. I'm sitting in this office all day, bored to pieces. I don't want to do this job. My boss is a jerk. My colleagues are even bigger jerks. That's not living.
Yeah.
Definitely not living. If you're not having fun every single day of your life, if you're not a little bit happy, going back to having some meaning every single day of your life, you're wasting it.
Yeah.
You're wasting your life.
It comes back to the thought, the connection between your thought and your emotions, right? If you do not understand that connection, that's when people start to blame other people or blame their circumstances for things around them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what? No, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say it's the age-old story of not taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
If you're a victim, you're not taking responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
And there are so many aspects of it. But I've done everything. Then you can change your attitude.
Yeah.
Boom.
And I'm presenting a workshop, and I'm actually the topic will be about the fear around change or the resistance around change. Why do people not want to change? And one of the things they said there also is that well, obviously the fear of the unknown, but the other interesting thing, I think we know this, but we never really think about it this way, is people's fear of losing themselves. Because when you change, you're not that old person anymore. And people are fearful of leaving behind that person they knew all these years, because they, for whatever reason, obviously they don't know what they're going to get. And needless to say, they don't even know that they can create what they want. Which makes it fearful for people to want to change, because they don't want to lose who they are. They start to label themselves. Oh, I am grumpy. I am this person. Oh, that's just who I am. I hear it so many times. I don't have patience. It's just who I am. But no, gosh, you don't have to be like that.
How do you work with people when you do that? When they come to that answer, when they come to that question?
So it all goes back down to that limiting belief, I think, about as to why you're not good enough, right, to change. Why you're not, and again comes down to the values, not understanding who they are and really knowing who they are, right? To have that, again, self-awareness of who you really are. Because I always tell people, it's like that flag post on the mountain. If you don't have that flag post on the mountain, you have no idea where you're going. You don't even, you might think you're heading to the mountain, to the top of the mountain, but there is a much bigger aspect to the top of the mountain than just the top of the mountain. So, and to have that in place is, for me, is pivotal for any person that wants to embark on a journey to redirect their life.
True, I agree. When you say there's more parts to the mountain, it triggered a thought in me that our values polarize us. We polarize. We one of my previous ones. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a cold.
No worries.
One of the values that I've been rethinking how valuable I think of it, or what I think of it, is fairness. And I feel triggered if I see something is not fair. It triggers me. I get cranky or feel victimized or whatever it is, right? So if that value isn't working. On the other hand, I also remember the moments where I wasn't fair the most. So it works a couple of ways,
True.
It's we have so much power. We ourselves have so much power. And as you keep saying, if you keep bringing up the values don't actually have to be shunned. If one of our values is serving, let's say serving, and you're to take a couple of cliches, right? So you were brought up that the woman stays at home, raises the children, has dinner on the table for the husband when he comes home so he can put his feet up on the couch, and on and on and on. And you think your value is serving. That value of serving can also be serving the community, teaching children.
Yep.
Serving in a different kind of way. That value of serving doesn't have to be going underneath your own value.
I think it's when you start to think about a value as I have to instead of I get to do it. That's when it happens.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I have to versus I get to.
Yeah.
I love that.
I have to cook tonight versus I get to cook for my family, or I get to go and fetch my kids at school, or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. True. Very good way of putting it. It's reframing it,
Yeah. What are you not very good at?
A zillion things. But I can tell you one thing where I have definitely received a mental trophy. And
mental trophy, I have to write.
A mental trophy, yes. And that's for skiing. Skiing. I am the world's slowest skier. I can stay in one place and get totally in a sweat, worrying about I have to get down there. But I did it. I did do it. But I'm the worst skier on the planet.
So, when I was actually thinking about, when you said that, I'm thinking, how can you be the slowest skier? But I guess you can stand still, right? That's the slowest.
Oh, yeah, I can take, the little kids are going like, shoo, 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 left and right.
I think that's the worst.
Yeah, and I'm going like this. Oh, stop. Stop. Stop.
I know nothing about skiing, but I do know they call this the pizza, right?
I don't know.
I think a guy explained it. This is the pizza and this is something else. I have no idea what it is. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So that was putting on the brakes, and I am totally grateful for my instructor for putting up with me for so long. He actually showed up every single day and gave me lessons from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m.
That makes me think when I'm in a situation like that where I feel like I might be the worst or I am bad or whatever, I always tell myself, there must have been somebody else way worse than me. There must have been. Before me, there must have been somebody else. Especially if I go out and I don't feel like I've dressed nicely, or I just feel like there must have been women out there that looked worse than me today. So, oh God.
Do you know? I think the story is from Roald Dahl. Do you know Roald Dahl?
Yeah.
And from him. It was one of his short stories. And he's talking about where a man comes home from work and his wife and he are sitting down for just a sandwich dinner and nothing spectacular going on. She'd been cleaning house, so the vacuum cleaner was still out in the hallway, and the doorbell rings. And at the door is his boss and his boss's wife, and they're all dressed up. And they're all beautiful, and they're saying, "Thank you so much for inviting us over for dinner. And this is going to be a wonderful evening." And his wife is sitting there in her, cleaning, cleaning the house clothes. He's not dressed up or anything, got his feet up on the couch and drinking a beer. And they only had a sandwich, and his wife immediately makes a big fuss about him. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not ready yet. Just a moment, come on in, have a cocktail, la, la, la." So she manages to get that kind of organized, and goes into the kitchen and manages to get a little bit organized there, and things like this happen. And the husband helps the wife in the kitchen get stuff ready. And so the boss and his wife are sitting there afterwards, and they're on the way home, and they're thinking, I don't think he's the right person for the job. You know, he was supposed to be get a promotion, and that would have included that they have a lot of entertaining and things like that. And he says, I don't think that's the right person. They're just not the right people for that job. And his wife says, I'm so sorry, because she was such a lovely woman, you know, but I don't think it's. And then she's pulling out the invitation, and she says, oh my God, it was for tomorrow night, not tonight. And you know, when you're saying you're not dressed right or something, you don't know what's happening. It could have been tomorrow night. That's one of the stories that I like to think of. It's one of those tales that tell me I may not be prepared,
Right.
but I can make it work. I can do what I can to make it work.
If you show up, right? Just show up. Yeah.
Just show up.
Yeah.
Like me with my skiing, I would show up.
Show up.
I only made it down the hill once. Normally you make it down the hill on the second morning, and halfway down the hill on the afternoon of the first day. I only made it down the hill on the very last day.
At least you made it down the hill. Debbie, thank you so much for your stories and learning a little bit about you.
Thank you for having me, Petroline. It's been so nice connecting with you.
Yeah.
I mean, these last two conversations are so lovely. You are such a lovely person. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Debbie. Yeah, and it was great to connect, because I haven't really connected with you. I mean, we've spoke, quote unquote, in a college community and seen one another on videos, but I haven't really connected. So it was really, really fantastic and a great pleasure for me to have you.
For me too. Thank you so much, Petroline.
Thanks.